Hey, I'm Tyler, this is Independence Overland, and I wanted to go over some stuff with the Trailhunter because I know you haven't seen anything new out of me for a while on this truck, and there's some reasons for that, so we're gonna dive into that. I'm gonna share some things that I've done in the last couple of weeks to get this ready for camping and for trails and stuff like that. Okay guys, so here it is. I did decide to go with a Method wheel. The reason for that is very simple. Method has bead grip technology. Nobody else has that. I did buy these Method wheels. Yes, I purchased them. No, I did not get any sort of discount for the channel or anything like that. I probably could have worked with another wheel company and paid much less or gotten them for free. I wanted a wheel where I could go into lower pressures for snow specific stuff. And just those situations that when I have a heavy truck, I can air down if I need the extra traction, and I can get a lot more rubber onto a rock or onto the mud or onto the snow, whatever the situation is. And then I'm going to put a 35-inch tire on this. Some people are running a 0 offset and that gives the tire a little bit more poke. And then some were going to a plus 25 and that will suck the tire in a little bit more. And then some were going with a 35. Method recommended that I went with a 35, and I did so because I'm doing a 35-inch tire. Doing the 35mm offset should allow the tire to fit on here without much modification. So some guys are going for a wider stance on their truck. For me, I don't care about that at all. I mean, obviously I want my truck to look good, but as far as intentionally sticking the wheel out and the tire out, I don't want that. I don't want extra mud going all over the body. It shouldn't stick out much more than my fender because the Trailhunter and the Pro have fenders that stick out, I think 1 inch or maybe it's even 1.5 inches wider on each side than the TRD off-roads and stuff. I want that to work. I don't want to be throwing mud. I'm not trying to make this thing have big tires to look cool. I'm trying to do it so it's just as capable as the FJ was on a 33.5-inch tire.
And just like that, the Firestone Destination MT2s have arrived.
This is finally ready to go out and do some trips. It needed a few things done to it. It still needs a few things done to it, but I had to halt on some of those installations. And a lot of this stuff has happened over the last several weeks. Anyway, let's dive into what I have been working on with the Trailhunter. It's one of the biggest things that I had done to this truck, which was very expensive, but it's one of those deals where after I went out on the first trip, realized just how wide this truck is. And I've always heard that Toyota's paint has gotten worse over time. And I mean, paint's gonna scratch either way, but it seemed like this thing got scratched off of very small limbs. So it kind of freaked me out because this thing is 3 times the cost, actually a little bit more than 3 times the cost of what I paid for that FJ Cruiser. So the scratches on the trail kind of freaked me out because I don't know that I'm gonna keep this as long as I kept the FJ. This is a project for the channel, and so I needed to kind of be smart about it. So I did have PPF done to this truck. I was not planning on doing that originally, but it just seemed like something that I needed to make happen. I think the PPF was a good investment. For you guys that aren't familiar with PPF, that stands for Paint Protection Film. And it's basically like a clear bra that you get on a vehicle. Some vehicles come with it, like the Toyotas will come with it on the lower rocker panel. It has kind of a wavy look to it. It doesn't look very nice, but it's a protective barrier. As this stuff is a clear barrier and it looks much better. It is a very polished product. You can't really even tell that it's there. This is harder to work with than just typical vinyl. So if you're gonna go get a wrap done on a truck, that's cool and you can change the color and you can do all this stuff. But here in the Colorado sun, what I've learned off the FJ is that even the hood graphic that I've done that's a black graphic, every 3 years it needs replaced. It starts cracking. It is such a pain in the ass to pull off of here or pull off of there. And so I know vinyl doesn't last that long up here unless you're fully garaging your vehicle, unless you're keeping a cover on it or something like that. It's going to degrade over time. It's just dry. The sun is brutal. And so I didn't want to go that route. And honestly, I really like the look of the Trailhunter. So what I did is I had the PPF done, which maintains my factory paint. But what it also does is it makes it to where when I scratch this thing, it will sit in the sun and it will basically heal. And so I had this done by Finish Line in Grand Junction, Colorado. They're right over by Goose Gear, and they did a really good job with it. This product has a 10-year warranty on it. I believe it's called Expel PPF. There's different brands, This stuff is apparently a pretty thick film, and then the other side of it is it has a hydrophobic layer on the top, so it works almost like a ceramic coat. So when I wash this thing, it is pretty incredible how fast the water just kind of beads off of it. Bugs aren't going to stick quite as much, and it's one of those advantages, but it was very expensive. This is a very expensive truck, and like I said, I want to somewhat keep the resale value because I don't know if I'm going to keep this thing forever. And part of the reason I bought the Trailhunter in the first place is I feel like the resale value on these trucks is going to be a little bit higher than some of the other ones. So while I'm not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon, you never know, and the channel will take me different places and new projects will come along and I'll want to build something new at some point. So this truck may not be around forever. I have no idea. Maybe it will be. But point being is that this has a 10-year warranty on it. So if this starts to yellow, if this starts to crack and peel, if this fails in any way in 10 years, they replace it. That warranty is not just finish line. That is the actual manufacturer of the PPF film. So that's pretty cool. The big thing for me is the scratches. This truck is going to be in shows. This truck is going to be on the channel. And the FJ, when I look at it in the right kind of lighting, like right now, it looks terrible. The paint is terrible. So I wanted to take better care of this truck. And so PPF was part of the deal, and I think they did just a fantastic job. So after the truck was done with PPF, it went right across the street to Goose Gear, and I already did a video on some of that stuff, and I'll touch on it a little bit here. But I did have Goose Gear put into the back of this. This is the first hybrid Tacoma to have the Goose Gear seat delete in the back, and that took 2 weeks. So all of that work needed to be done. And now I can take this truck out and get it on the trails and have just a great time and not worry as much about the small stuff. Okay, and here's the next thing I'm showing off. These are from Redline Tuning, and this is something my FJ Cruiser has, just hood struts. It's a thing that a lot of people have been complaining about with these 4th gen Tacomas. They're such expensive trucks, they do not come with hood struts. Why do they not come with hood struts? Good question. It's something that I would like to see on these as well. I know they're cutting costs on all sorts of stuff and whatever, but it is just a minor thing that is nice to have. I'm used to it on the FJ, and it's a very easily upgradable part. This kit is from Redline Tuning. It took me maybe 5 minutes to put this kit on. It was very simple, very easy to do. It's one of those deals that we all wish our 4th gen came with these things. So the Redline Tuning kit is super simple to install. Just a couple bolts. You loosen stuff up, put their bracket on, doesn't interfere with anything, doesn't hit anything, no flex in the hood or anything like that. It works great. It's just something you appreciate. Whenever you pop the latch and you barely pick it up, shoots right up. It's great. So this is just one of those small items that I think we all wanted, and you can get it for your Tacoma for pretty cheap. Okay, so one of my next mods that I've done, I've gotten a bunch of questions about this, is my cases and how I mounted these to the side of the rack. So these are the Zarges 40568 cases. They're a little too big, honestly, as far as aesthetics go, but they are very useful. So if I was gonna do this permanently, then I would have gotten the next size down that's a little more of a thin case because it would just look better. And these are a little too big because you can't really fit that much stuff in these because of the weight involved. I wanted a quality case. After I checked out these at an Overland Expo, I was blown away because of the weight. When you pick up an aluminum case versus like any other plastic case, there's a quality difference there. They're gonna get scratched up and stuff, whatever. And they are a very high-end, very expensive case. And yes, I paid for them. I bought these with actually Walmart gift cards that I got from my day job. So I mounted the cases like this for the season because I knew I was going to be running this open bed with the Kuat bed rack, which has just been awesome, and it allowed me to mount these here. But this isn't a permanent setup. This winter I will be enclosing this. So for now, I knew there was going to be a ton of dust in the back of this truck, and I needed a spot where I could put some things that I didn't have to worry about being covered in dust. And I have food boxes and stuff back here too, but I just didn't want to have to unload stuff kind of and pull it out, deal with the dust. I wanted a spot where I could just open things up. And you guys will see me using these in some of my upcoming adventure videos because I've gotten a lot of use out of them. So with the Kuat bed rack and this angle, I did not plan this. This just worked out this way. The way these cases open, the lid is right there. So I basically get a perfect bench space on both of these, or a little table. And so what I have out here is I have like my Outen little coffee maker that's like a little espresso maker, which is awesome, by the way. And then I've got all sorts of stuff. I've got my Joule water boiler back here. You can put whatever. And I put foam on the side so it didn't mess up as much stuff. So anyway, these Zarges cases are mounted to my Kuat bed rack with the mounting company mounts. The mounting company is another company that I discovered at the Overland Expo a couple years ago. I put out a video on it, so some of you might be familiar. But I saw these things back then, well before I had this truck. And I knew when I was gonna build this truck because this has been a long time coming. I saw these mounts and I was like, that is what I'm using, because these things are just badass. But anyway, having these cases mounted here is just awesome. And so here is the coolest part about these. The mounting company, these come right off, and then you can set those aside. These things have this huge latch on the top of them for like a padlock, which is legit. This is titanium here, and then this is aluminum and stainless steel. And so you have metal on metal on metal, and you're less likely to get broken into. I'm overly paranoid about my stuff getting stolen. I go all over the country, and when I go into a restaurant or a store to restock or something, we've all done it. If you're doing a lot of this kind of travel, you'll stop in places where you're like, man, I don't feel comfortable leaving my truck, just because you have all this gear you're relying on and stuff, and people can walk away with stuff. Of course, everybody knows you can break into anything, but these are gonna be a hell of a lot harder to get into than some of the other options out there. So check out how easy these mount back on. So you just line it up there, and it snaps into place. So when I traveled through like Arkansas and the Midwest recently on a long trip, I did put padlocks on these, which just makes me feel better. And then if I walked away from the truck, and honestly, like my hometown where theft happens, I put little padlocks on these, and then I don't have to worry about stuff as much. So these are just badass, and as you saw, they work really well. So if you're going to get a Kuat rack, or any kind of rack really that has a similar angle, I don't know what the degree is on that, but your Zarges cases can become a very useful workspace, and everything inside of them is clean. They're dustproof, waterproof, everything. No dust intrusion with the mounting company mounts bolted on there. Very happy with that. I don't regret drilling through those case mounts at all. Okay, so next up are Charvonia designs. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Billet tie-downs.com. So these red tie downs that you see in here, these guys did send me these, as well as the ones here at the edge of the bed. They pick up and spin very easily. They're much nicer than what you get from the factory. So right now I even have my spare mounted to the back wall, and I honestly need to move some of these. It wasn't very accessible because I was loaded down for Utah, but I need to move some of these back there so I can tie my tire down a little bit easier. But these guys are making billet tie down points, and these things, they're heavy duty. They're pretty badass. So they sent me packs of these to check out, and these are anodized red. There's different colors and stuff you can get on these. And these are just honestly just beautiful little mounts, and they look good in here, and they are much heavier duty than the ones you get from the factory. And you can still use the ones from the factory as well. I've got literally 3 on each side, because I've got 2 of the billet ones, and then I've got the factory ones. And then on the back wall, I've got the factory ones as well. For my refrigerator, I've had to just basically do one strap to the other side on both handles to keep it in place. So anyway, I still have this little set. These are the smaller ones that go farther up, but I had so much stuff in here, I just could not get to things. I was in a hurry to go on a trip, and I was out of time, so I need to put these other ones in. The coating and the machining is just well beyond what you're gonna get from the factory, and even with my new setup that I'm gonna have soon on the back, when this is all enclosed like I was talking about, I will be utilizing those as well then. I've got some pretty cool ideas on how to utilize those. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, though. That's all secret sauce. Okay, so one of the other things that I have been getting to use is Mountain Hatch sent me one of their tailgate inserts. And so basically you pull your plastic off of your tailgate and you put this on here. So this becomes one big cutting board. And I've owned trucks before, but I've never owned them in the purpose of building it out and camping out of it like I do now. It's when I was much younger. When you have this kind of a pattern on a tailgate, it makes it so much less useful than this right here. This flat surface became the best part of the whole truck when we're camping. So this being flat rather than being a surface like this, like the stock tailgate was, this is such a better use of space. So whenever you're stopping for a lunch break, you can pull your tailgate down, and then for me, I get into those Zarges cases, and I have quick access to just make something on the side of the trail. So this tailgate made that type of thing so easy as far as having like a new truck goes, just because we can just make sandwiches and stuff, have paper towels laid out, put the bread on it, do everything, make coffee back here, have drinks back here, cook dinner on here. I've cooked so many meals on this tailgate already. This thing has just been awesome. So the Mountain Hatch tailgate insert is the way to go. If you guys have a tailgate on your truck and you camp out of it like this, really look at these. This is one of the most useful investments you can get for your tailgate for sure. And I mean, it's some heavy duty, thick stuff. So it basically turns it into one big work surface, one big table. I mean, even your camp chairs right here, and you can use this as a dinner table if you wanted to. Very useful stuff. I'm quite fond of this surface. Okay, so last but certainly not least are the Firestone Destination MT2 tires. Now, they offered to send these to me. It is one of the benefits of being an off-road YouTube channel. So I've been testing these things out, and usually I am an all-terrain guy, but I was going to Arkansas, so I wanted to use a mud terrain tire, so I took them up on the mud terrain. And then when we got there, it was unusually dry. I just expected it to still be somewhat wet, and it was not the case. So anyway, I've done thousands of miles on these tires now. And at first, there's a little bit of shake to the steering wheel, but now that I've driven them and kind of worn them in a little bit, that has largely gone away. They are a heavy tire, and this is a 35-1250. I knew I wanted to put 35s on this truck from the get-go. I didn't even want to get used to the fuel economy that I was getting on 33, so I was ready to put the 35s on right away. And I did put those on the Method wheels, as I talked about previously in this video. And so I've been very happy with this tire. They're not noisy like I really expected. I've ran mud terrain tires before in the past, and I've mostly switched over to an all-terrain. I think all in all, an all-terrain is better suited for my type of use, but I really thought I was gonna be getting heavy into the mud. So for this winter, I will be trying these. Something about these tires is they are studdable, which I've already driven on them. So once you get the little rocks and stuff in there, apparently that becomes just about impossible to do, but it is a studdable mud tire, which is pretty cool. As far as traction goes, I mean, these tires have been phenomenal. We did some trails in Arkansas, which were not that difficult. We went to the White Rim Trail, which is not particularly difficult, but we go through sand, we go through sandstone, and we did a little bit of crawling around and stuff, but nothing too crazy. And then last weekend I did some wheeling here in Colorado, and I was dragging that trailer, the Mission Overland trailer, behind me during that. And I mean, these were just badass. For Arkansas, I ran them at stock tire pressure. I didn't even air down because we didn't get that crazy. For White Rim, I aired down to 15, and then last weekend I aired down to about 18. And these tires are really nice, and they have a ton of grip. They are not too loud. So I'm almost at 7,000 miles on this truck already, which is crazy. So I probably have about 35 to almost 4,000 miles on these tires now. So these are wearing very nicely. These are bead balanced rather than traditional weight balanced, and I've ran that in the FJ for a while. Something else that I have heard about these tires, I don't know for myself yet. It is starting to get cold here in Colorado, but I have heard that these are really good on the snow and on the ice. I'll find that out soon. Part of the reason I got the Method Bead Grips is because I can air these tires down really low and not worry about, or not worry as much about breaking a bead. So I do plan on doing some of that this winter. So I'll touch on these tires again. Then I think it's gonna be a fun tire to have for the winter. So that's everything I've done for now. I will leave the links in the comments as well as in the description so you can check this stuff out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.
As always, thank you so much for watching, and click one of the videos in the corner to check out more of our adventure, off-road, and overland related content.